So I want to start out this video with a story of change. I think stories are good because they help people resonate with you better. They help you, you feel more human. Man, stories are fun to listen to. And so this story, like I mentioned, is all about change. It's about the fact that change, while can be scary, absolutely, change can be good. And change can lead to a positive outcome that you couldn't have thought or could have dreamed of actually happening. So this story starts in third grade, my third grade. A long time ago, I couldn't tell you how long ago it was. And it's when I found football. And football for me was, my life from third grade all the way up to I was a senior in college. And it's how I defined myself. You talk to your friends, you're a football player. In high school, you are a part of the football team. In college, you sat at the football table and had football friends. And that's how I defined myself. And that's how most of us define ourselves, whether it's football or whatever the case may be. And good stories when I was younger is, I went to a small school or a small team in California, and there wasn't a lot of money there, and we didn't have enough money for uniforms, so we wore our dad's t-shirts, and there was just a lot of good stories growing up and a lot of things I learned from football, whether it was camaraderie or taking critique from a coach or leadership, whatever the case may be. I learned a lot, and it defined me, and that's who I was. And then as I got older, and I was in college, I realized near the end of my college career that football wasn't going to be able to define me the rest of my life. It wasn't who I was going to be or who I was, because at some point, I wasn't going to play football anymore. Because, let's get real, I warmed the bench up in college and I wasn't going to go to the NFL. And so I realized something's got to change. I've got to find something different, or something's going to find me. And going into my senior year, I got an internship up here at Fort Leavenworth. You've probably heard the story quite a few times on a podcast, but I'll tell it again. Got a job here up at Fort Leavenworth, an internship, and a gentleman approached me when I was working there because he knew I was still going into my senior year of football. I still had a year left, but it was a summer internship. And he's like, hey, I know notice you're exercising, you're in shape, and you're preparing for football. You should try this new thing out that I'm doing, this new exercise routine. And I was like, cool, what is it? I'll show up and whoop all on you guys, I don't care. Pride, right, bad. And he goes, show up this thing, it's called Crossfit, you should show up. And I'm thinking, that sounds like a cult, but okay. So I agreed to it. And he's like, yeah, show up tomorrow. Tomorrow at 5 in the morning. Stupid, I was like, I should have asked for the time before what I was doing. But anyways, I showed up and fell in love with it. Just the idea that I thought football had a good community, because you're a part of a team. But little did I realize that this other upcoming sport that I had just gotten pulled into that I thought was a cult really was kind of a cult in terms of its community. It had the greatest community out there. And it was helpful because I was scared of the change occurring because I wasn't going to have football to do anymore. What am I going to do? Intramural sports? Am I going to join a bowling league? What am I going to do? And then I found this other sport called CrossFit. And I decided, wow, this is what I'm doing 110%. Mathematically impossible, I don't care. I'm doing this 110%, and this is how I'm going to define myself. And so for many years, since I found CrossFit, that's how I've defined myself. I am not necessarily a CrossFit athlete. I was a CrossFitter, then a CrossFit athlete, and then I was a CrossFit Games athlete, then a perennial CrossFit Games athlete. And that's how I defined myself. And so now I'm coming to a point in my life where change is going to occur again. If you're here because of an Instagram post, you're here to determine why now, why am I deciding to quit now, and then what now? If you're new and you didn't see my Instagram post, I've decided to specifically step down from specifically competing in CrossFit. I'll be competing in other things, but we're going to talk about that in this video further on. And so it's change, right? There's change occurring. There's something new that's going to happen, and that at times can be scary. But in this video, I want to specifically talk about that change, what that's going to look like, why am I deciding to quit now, and specifically, what am I going to be doing in the future? What change am I going to be occurring in my life that's going to hopefully give back to the sport that's given so much to me? So that's what this video is about, and we're going to jump into all those pieces. It's going to be exciting. Let's get right to it. The first thing we're going to talk about is why now? It's the first discussion that's always going to come up. You guys are going to be sitting here thinking, Jacob, you're still in really good shape. Why now? And so, that is a great question, actually. Good for you. That's a good question. Why now? And so, I had this thought earlier this year, late in 2020, of how you value your time. That is something I've had a discussion with many times with different people over the course of last year and earlier this year. How you value your time. Now, I want to clarify this. For the people that are still competing and spending time doing this, this isn't a knock on you. This is my own personal opinion, and this is just how the thought process I went through. And so I looked at how I was valuing time, how I was putting my time towards things specifically. You know, when you're competing in the sport, wanting to do well in anything in life, you have to spend a lot of time doing that. You have to focus on it. And I realized that spending that time, the 5-6 hours a day worth of training in the gym, was a lot of time that could have been spent elsewhere in better ways. Better ways that maybe weren't as selfish, better ways that would maybe improve the CrossFit community more, or create something for the CrossFit community that would help other people or pour into other people more, or, you know, meet other people or do other things. Because the fact of the matter, like, I've been involved in this sport for so many years, it's given so much to me. I've always spoken about this on podcasts, whether you're Talking Elite Fitness or Morning Chocolate, or any podcast I've ever been on. The conversation that always comes up is giving back to the community that has given so much to me, right? Because I've talked about it in my Instagram video, like, this is the only sport where fans and competitors are the same person. The person working out in the lane next to me that wants to beat me will also cheer me on. And that is the best part about the sport. And the sport has taught me so much, given me so much, that why wouldn't I give back? And the more I thought about how I value time, the more I thought about competing in the sport for 1 year, the more I thought that I think it's time to move on. I think it's time to do other things in the sport. I think there are other opportunities that exist out there for me. And that's kind of my why now. Now, I know that may not resonate with a lot of people. That really is only meant to resonate with me. But it was a difficult decision, I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I'm done competing, yeah, heck with that. It was difficult because, like I talked about in the beginning of the video, I defined myself as a football athlete for many years, and then you switch over, and I defined myself as a CrossFitter. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not a CrossFitter still, but you define yourself as a person who goes in a perennial games athlete. I go to the games year in and year out. And now to step away and say, I'm not gonna define myself that way, it's difficult. It's change. But I think it's change that is important. So the next thing we're going to talk about, now that we discussed the why now, we're going to talk about the what now, right? Now both of these kind of go together, right? So why now and what now definitely coalesce. There's definitely a bunch of the whats that factor into the whys, for lack of better terms. So, what now? Going forward, what are the things that I'm going to do in my life? What are the things that I'm helping give back to the community? What are some endeavors that I am spending my time on? That's a good question. So, specifically in the Instagram video, I said I am specifically done competing in CrossFit. That's true. That doesn't mean that I am done competing in athletic endeavors, so let's talk about those athletic endeavors. Some of them I can talk about, and some of them I can't just yet. The ones I can talk about is you see me, some of you don't like it, but that's okay. So you see me working out and shooting. I'll be competing in that throughout this year. I'll be doing firearm and fitness competitions throughout the year. That's going to be kind of exciting to me, something I've always wanted to do for a long time, and something that I'm going to explore. I can't announce it. I will be doing one athletic endeavor this year that I can't announce. That is going to be huge, like really huge. But something with 3 letters, since I can't talk about it. So we're just going to move on. So that's the athletic endeavor concept, right? So that's the what now in terms of athletic competitions. I have a board, so don't mind me if I look at my board, don't bother. One thing to give back to the CrossFit community that I've always wanted to do, you're thinking to yourself, Jacob, you created this gym and you're done competing, isn't that stupid? Fair assessment. The idea has never been to create a gym for me just to work out in by myself. The idea has always and will always be to give back to the community around me. Like I've talked about enough times that you're probably getting sick of it. The idea has always been to create a space where I can pour into other people. and by pour, I don't mean like I'm gonna dump water on them, right? Is to give back to other people, to love on other people, to appreciate other people, to show them the things that I have learned over years and years, and to give it back to them and hopefully help them learn faster so they don't make the same mistakes I made. So we will be holding camps and seminars in, I haven't got a name for it yet, but the barn gym, we'll just call it that for now. We're gonna be holding camps and seminars this year in the barn gym. That's the goal. Because the goal is to bring in people from the CrossFit community, people that are fans or competitors or whatever the case may be, and to bring them in here, to love on them, to have a fellowship, to have a community, create more of a community, to enjoy our time with people, to have a bonfire out back and smoke weenies or marshmallows and have a good time hanging out and working out. That's the goal. So that's one thing we're gonna be doing this year. One thing you heard me talk about on the video also is I'm throwing my hat in the ring to commentate the games. I mean, if you guys have spent enough time watching me, I commentate my own workout videos. If you guys watch that, at least me commentating at the games would be more exciting than me commentating on myself. I hope. So that's the idea going forward, is to stay invested in the CrossFit. I'm not gonna walk away from it, that'd be crazy. To stay involved in the CrossFit community, and I haven't really said this out loud very often. I've told to a couple people here and there, but I've always wanted to commentate. It's something that I think, I don't know, maybe I talk too much, but it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. I've always enjoyed commentating and on myself, working out, which is embarrassing. But I've always enjoyed talking to other people, interviewing them, just the social interactions related to it. I've enjoyed it. And I think being able to do that in the CrossFit industry would be a huge help for the rest of us. I mean, it'd be good to know because I've competed with the guys out there on the field. And so me being able to step back and say, hey, this is the workout we're gonna do. If I was still out there, this is how I would approach it. This is what I think you'll see. This is what I not think you'll see, because I know the guys that are out there. Half the time I've slept on their couch, or they slept on my couch. So anyways, commentating at the CrossFit Games or a Continental or a Sanctional Regional, whatever they're calling it, this year is the goal going forward, to stay involved and to give back to the community. The other thing we're gonna be doing going forward, the other what now, the reasons for stepping away, is the fact that I just have successful companies that have partnerships that are doing really, really well, and I need to focus on those. And those are partnerships that are gonna be coming out public pretty soon, but there are partnerships that I think are gonna change the CrossFit industry at large. I think for most athletes, when they spend time in a sport, you learn things about the sport and you think, man, that's great, but it could be better. And so that's what I've spent the last year and a half working with different people all over the industry doing, is saying, hey, this functions well, but if you just make it a little bit better, just think how much affiliate owners or CrossFit coaches or CrossFit athletes or whoever, marketing companies, just how much they would appreciate this. So that's what we've been doing. We'll have more on that that'll pop up later as soon as they become public. But a lot of partnerships in the companies are going to require a lot more of my focus. Now, one thing you're asking yourself is, well, Jacob, what about your programming? What about the things you do in this gym? What about grit specifically? That's a great question. So grit is still going to be delivering top tier programming. It's a program that I'm still going to be doing, but I'm not going to be competing. Now, I'm not going to be able to do all of it probably, obviously, but I'm still going to be doing a lot of the programming. And so we're going to be launching a new app the next week, the next 2 weeks, I believe. We're going to have new communities, new everything. It's going to be pretty exciting. And honestly, a lot of these companies just are going to require more of my focus. They were doing so well that I wasn't able to give them the love and the TLC they needed. And now I can do that. And that's the goal going forward. So, all that to say, it's, I look at it and you think to yourself, from my perspective, I always wanted to step away from something on my own terms. You've heard me probably talk about many, many times on different podcasts. If you actually go back and listen to a lot of podcasts I did this year, I will hint at everything we've talked about today, because it's been on my mind for a long time. And that has always been an exit strategy. I think as every athlete, you need to have a plan for an exit strategy. Now, in my mind, exit isn't like exit CrossFit. It's just exit from the field of play. It's just stepping away from the court. It's stepping away from whatever, the field, the court, whatever you play on. And so in my mind, I've been thinking about this for a while as, what is your exit strategy? What are your plans going forward? What change are you going to incur or going to occur in that mind? And so going forward, I'm really excited. I have a lot of, I may not sound like it, it's a hard conversation to have, if that makes sense, but I have a lot of excitement for the things going forward. A lot of excitement of trying new things. I mean, at the top of the CrossFit pyramid is sport, right? A lot of us spend so much time working out in the gym, we don't actually go out there and try a different sport. And I'm gonna be doing that. And so there's gonna be some excitement going forward. I'm really excited to try new things. Meet new people, and do new opportunities. Commentating is gonna be super exciting. Being able to do some shooting and fitness is gonna be exciting. Some other things in my companies are gonna be super exciting. So I'm excited and joyful for what's to come. I appreciate if you've been involved or invested or have been in, met me or whatever, been a fan of me, cheered me on competing before. This isn't the end. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just not gonna have a number on my arm with a smiley face on it on the floor competing. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. I don't really have anything else to say, but for a lot of the announcements for the camps and seminars, we're gonna let you guys know soon. We have a lot of things coming out. It's gonna be fun. Stay tuned. See ya.